Ink Analysis, submitted by Martoby M. Sagandoy, submitted to Dr. Elinita J. Cuenca. And meron tayong contents dito. Una, describe the nature, source, and purpose of ink. Pangalawa, describe the 3 basic groups of ink properties. And then yung pangatlo, describe the methods used in ink analysis. And then yung last one is, describe the importance of ink analysis in criminal investigations. Ano nga ba yung ink? Ink is a colored fluid used for writing, drawing, printing, or duplicating. Ink can be complex medium composed of solvent, pigments, resins or yung mga dagta, lubricants, and dyes, and then yung solubilizer, and then fluorescent. So, 3 basic groups of ink properties. Meron tayong tinatawag ditong optical properties, structural properties, and then yung drying properties. Sa optical properties and any important considerations is color matching. So, sa optical properties, color matching siya or the ability to precisely duplicate another color. So, nakakapag-duplicate pala siya ng another color. Color matching test can be done visually under specific lighting conditions or utilizing a spectrophotometer and computer programs that can match a color wavelength by wavelength. So, a pigment resistance to chemicals in a particular, how will it retain the permanence or cease bleeding in presence of acid, alkalis or alkalis or other substance is another important considerations. The properties which determine on what types of material an ink can be used. Sa structural properties, gravure inks and newsprints. So, an ink's body refers to the consistency or hardness of softness. An ink body can be very soft and fluid. So, dito sa structural properties, yung ink ng body can be very soft and fluid, such as newsprints and gravure ink, or hard and stiff like collotype ink. And then another important structural property of ink is the length, which related to the consistency and describe the ability of ink to perform long stringly filaments. Ink that are long have increased flow characteristics. So, sa drying properties, it means by which of object removed from the pigment. So, dito naman, yung isang object naman is i-remove natin from the pigment. Allowing the pigment to harden and solidify on the surface of the substrate. Inks dry by oxidations. Yung dry properties is ginagamitan ng oxidations, absorptions, polymerations, and evaporations, precipitations, or any combinations thereof. So, the suitability of an ink drying mechanism with a particular substrate, the printing process is important in preventing problems such as ink strike through, ink set off, and ink choking. Method used in ink analysis. Yung method, ink analysis may be an important part of the investigations, questions document, including forged check, wills, or altered records. Although all blue or black ink may be look at the same, they can be some important difference in the chemical compositions. This can be revealed by laboratory analysis, and The result can be help access whether there have been any additions or alterations of the document. So, nakakatulong ito. Nakakatulong yung ink analysis para ma-rebuild natin kung meron bang mga naidagdag sa mga document or alterations to the document. Sa method naman ng ink analysis, meron tayong tinatawag ditong spectrophotometry, and then 10-layer chromatography, and then high-performance liquid chromatography. Sa spectrophotometry, ito yung main method ng non-destructive ink analysis. Involve dito yung scanning the ink with ultraviolet and infrared light to the record its spectrum, that is the wavelength of the light is absorbed. So, this is a way para ma-discover natin yung true color of ink sa spectrophotometry. And then sa 10-layer chromatography, ito naman yung method ng destructive testing of ink. So, a tiny sample of ink paper is punched out using a thin hollow needle. Hypodermic syringe is ideal. So, the sample is placed in the test tube with the solvent and dissolve the ink. Next, a tiny spot of the sample solutions is placed onto the strip of paper. Nakita po niyo po dito. Alongside spots from various reference ink samples. The paper is placed in the beaker containing a small amount of another solvent. It is positioned so that the paper dips into the solvent but the spot of the sample remain dry. The solvent is drawn up and paper through capillary actions and the sample spot move out with it. Sa high performance liquid chromatography naman tayo, ito naman yung another method or another technique which can be used as an alternative to thin layer chromatography. So, dito ini-inject yung ink sample onto the long thin metal column that is been washed over with a mixture of solvent, carrying the ink components one at the time to the electronic detector. Between sa non-destructive and destructive methods for analysis, dito na-identify niya more than 90% of ballpoint pen ink. Importance naman ng ink analysis sa criminal investigations. Dito, malalaman natin kung yung isang bagay ba is totoo o hindi for analysis of documents to see it is a fake or not. So, ma-analyze natin through the using of ink analysis and laboratory examinations. Yung analysis of documents under the microscope can be informative as a first step. The investigator will be able to see slight change in the color. So, makikita din dito kung meron bang nangyari na slight change or pagkabago sa isang ink color. Not visible to the naked eye, that could be indicate of alterations, or there may be suggestions of obliterations and overwriting. The ink itself may be analyzed by non-destructive or destructive testing. So, na-analyze din pala ito ng non-destructive and destructive testing. So, depending on whether the sample needs to be taken from the document, a process that will be alter it. It is preferable to try the non-destructive approach first so that the document is left intact. So, makita natin dito. Para makita natin kung yung document ba is na-tampered. And then to see if the signature is real. So, makikita din natin dito. Nakakatulong ito nakakatulong yung ink analysis sa criminal investigations para malaman natin kung yung isang signature ba ng isang tao is totoo o hindi.